Welcome back, Guardians. I hope you have been well as our world seems to have crashed down around us. It's odd, isn't it, to participate in the slow burn of our apocalypse, to feebly be interacting with it like infants attempting to understand a far greater consciousness. We are brave, but we are misinformed. This is the primary teaching the pyramids would give us of the darkness. But the pyramids have come to tempt us with more than just powers of stasis, of ice, of cold and touch. They come bearing a school of thought, a new form of thinking coded in a sweet seduction. And in today's report, we will delve into the mysteries uncovered by the efforts of Eris Morn and many brave Guardians, the lessons within the singular Exegete. The darkness would suggest that we are shelled, protected, and made feeble by the warm shield of the light, made true through the traveler. That we, as humanity and its various genetic rifts, are particularly held back, waylaid, if you will, by the massive tether we have to our ghosts and our ghosts to its own master, the traveler. The bird cannot fly until it leaves the eggshell. The enemy continues to suggest that we must abandon the traveler. This is a good sign. It would not need to entice us if it could destroy us without effort. But is this true? Is there a certain truth in the words of the darkness that the light has always hindered us? The question many would turn to is a time prior to our first golden age. Humanity lived. In some form of even subjective rationale, you could say we thrived. But our planet was dying. Our people would be cordoned off by entrenched differences in politics, in religious belief, in our infinite differences of worldview. Many would claim that humanity's greatest strength has always been that each individual is unique, capable of fantastic thought, of incredible rage, but that we are all, in our own way, different. We were a people mired in analytical quarantines. We separated each other, whether consciously or subconsciously, via race, via country, via political belief, and saw those who did not see neatly into our own beliefs as non-believers, or worse, subhuman. Certainly now, we look back at our history and mock it, how foolish we were to divide ourselves as we do our current enemies, to battle one another for the power over territory and resource over human thought. When the traveler came, it shared its technology and thinking with us. Those pre-designed divisions almost ended. We immediately became aware of the universe and its mass, that we were but many life forms in an infinite cosmos, and the only element that truly united us was Earth, our one home, our birthright, our gem in a series of planets settled just perfectly in the habitable zone to support our 50,000 plus year rise to power. Without the traveler, would we have ever reached out to the stars, settled on 100 worlds, or even had the ambition to do so? Would we still see each other by societal norms of race and creed? Look at your neighbor with quiet suspicion? Would we be led by the same greed-fueled and misled leaders that sought to fill their own pockets with our collective energy, that sought to divide us by policy and by country line and by heritage and religious belief? I'd argue, without the traveler's arrival, humanity would not be where it is today, united in one cause. Certainly, that cause is not a great one, being that we must survive, save those who can be brought into the light. But is it not better to be united in one cause, rather than being divided in a million microcauses, each as insignificant as the other? That is what the traveler brought us. The real question we need to be asking is why. Certainly, as we are more educated now than we were years ago, the traveler seeks to mantle the races it's encountered to fight a desperate war against an enemy far more powerful, perhaps infinitely so. The traveler did this with the races of the Hive that they encountered on their million-year conquest of the galaxy. It did this with the Fallen, our scavengers, our broken Elixni, and it quite certainly it has done this to unite us, prepare us in a war, in thought, in creed, to fight its enemy on its behalf. This is what the darkness attempts to teach us in this religiously themed scripture, that we as humans are nothing more than pawns in the hands of the light, forced to wage a war we cannot win, just to prove the argument between winnower and gardener can continue, but never be concluded. The question and the argument go beyond right and wrong, though, beyond some form of misguided moral alignment of this action is good and that action is bad. That's some childhood belief structure that's been forced upon us since we were told bedtime stories of heroes and villains. We know that our world is gray, with an infinite amount of spectrum found within this color. Eris would tell us, evil is real. Even in a world of gray, it must be named and fought, because left unchecked, it takes everything. Those who excuse, even deny evil's existence, are its greatest allies. Those who mistake its causes for moral justification are its favorite pawns. At this point in the report, it's quite obvious that the darkness is attempting to teach us something. Firstly, we are limited by the light, regardless if we believe it has brought us some form of previous direction away from our extinction. The path we now walk is just another form of humanity's removal from the cosmos. The second, the darkness does not consider itself evil, and neither should we. It is a force like a winter or a storm. This is what it is designed to do. And as humans, we are designed to adapt and survive. To Eris's point, it is not evil to protect oneself against a storm or a disaster. We should understand the storm, the coming of the weather, and use that understanding to more efficiently protect ourselves. But what of the actual philosophy of light and dark? What is the key learning the darkness aches to teach us? The final subjective teaching the darkness aims to show us is that our conviction and loyalty to our light, to our last city, to our prestige and ever-chasing need for continued glories are endeavors mired in sickness. We've become so accustomed to winning, to delivering good news of victory back to the vanguard, that we've forgotten what the collapse caused. The dark age of Iron Lords and Warlords, the time before the first Golden Age. Our vision is illuminated only a few feet in front of us. We barely see that path laid out, and seem forgetful of the actions we've taken just months prior. It warns that of the sunk cost fallacy, of our continued dream of a free last city, of a returning golden age, will only bring more darkness, more collapses, more defeats, so as long as we remain unified in our dogmatic belief in the light. Our enemies already turn to the darkness, but because, and quite simply, we've forced them to do so. We've removed their options of any other choice. That is what the light does, and this is the darkness's rationale. It takes people and groups them into the haves and have-nots, and forces us to fight each other because we covet what the prize and the bounties of our neighbors could be. We, Guardians, are perhaps the worst. We take trophies from the mountain of dead corpses that lay beneath our feet. We fashion weapons and armor off the flesh of our enemies, and continue to create ornaments from our warlike accolades against them. Surely, you may ask, we've never forced the Vex, the Hive, the Cabal, the Fallen to come down upon us. They've made those decisions themselves. And while that argument is true, yes, they have we have also ushered them into a direction of permanent war against us due to our continued conquests, our right to our solar system, our conviction to our past, as determined by the so-called prophecy of the Nine. The Fallen under Aramis will be our first test of darkness-infused forces. And if we are to learn how to utilize the powers of stasis or winter, then we may very well follow her footsteps. In the meantime, Guardians, we will continue to learn from the messages of the darkness until we've reached a full understanding. It seems this is all we can do in our current war of attrition. In the next report, we will look into explaining some of the rumors around what Anna Bray has supposedly uncovered.